This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the afternoon safari here at andBeyond in Ngala. Again with myself, Sean, and we've got myself behind the camera. So it's a special welcome to all the kids. We've got about 35 different families joining from, I think it's 8 different countries, so quite a wide variety. Just remember, kids, we're answering your questions priority first. You can send those questions on kitchens@wildearth.tv. Also, you can just hashtag us on Twitter or at FC on the YouTube channel to send your questions through. You can see here, what a start to the afternoon. It became a very, very hot day. We're about 27 degrees Celsius. I get 76 maybe Fahrenheit. Very hot day, and that's why we got this cheetah. It's a male cheetah here, lying in the shade. So fantastic. He looks very, very full. He stood up a minute ago before he lay back down. And you'll see, hopefully he'll stand up again. But very, very fat. Very, very big guy. It's like he did eat something earlier today. And now he's just resting, digesting in the shade. Which is fantastic for us. Which is fantastic. Now this weather played right into our hands. Nice and cool this morning, which would have allowed this cheetah to hunt. And then as it heated up, he found a nice cool spot like this and just lay down to rest. I mean, what a fantastic start. Beautiful, beautiful animal. And it's so nice that this morning you got to see okay, so we've got a question from Ren, who is in Boston, and Ren would like to know, what is the smallest mammal that we get in Africa? So now, yes, Ren, I do agree with Marcel over here, who says it is a shrew. And if you give me 1 second, okay, so the smallest mammal in Africa is what they call a Etruscan shrew, also known as an Etruscan pygmy, or the white-toothed pygmy shrew, found in North America and through to Asia, or Malaysia. And then, yes, Marcel said something about a bat. Together with the kitty's hob-nosed bat, they're the 2 smallest mammals. I know this because I actually did a quiz for andBeyond last week, and one of the questions in the quiz was, what is the smallest mammal and where is it found? Yeah. So, yeah, James also thinks it's a bat. According to us, it is that shrew, and then the bat as well. I'm not sure the size of the bat. Never heard of it myself.
It depends whether you define the size by the weight or by the physical dimensions.
Okay, so there Marcel's getting technical, like his facts, saying it depends on the size or the weight and the physical dimensions of the mammal. Depends what the answer would be. But yeah, you can see this cheetah, not the smallest one, although it is the fastest one. Though right now, he doesn't look like he's going to be going anywhere quickly. But we are probably going to spend most of the afternoon here. Firstly, because it is just a very beautiful animal, stunning to look at. But also because cheetahs are daytime animals, which means there's a very good chance he's going to get up and start walking. You know, the fact that he is so full, I would hazard a guess that whatever he ate this morning was reasonably close by. I don't see any vultures or jackals in the area. That's why I think it was quite a lot earlier this morning. But he would have moved a little bit. You know, a couple hundred meters from his food before he lay down. But what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to sit here for most of the afternoon and see what this cheetah decides to do. Hopefully he does get up. But in the meantime, while we wait, we're going to send you back across to Djuma so you can say hello to James.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to this end of the sun. Quickly, yes, you seem to look all right today, good. Ooh, a couple of you haven't washed properly. A couple of you have a bit of lunch down your fronts, but I suppose that's okay. All right, we can now look at the animal over there. We've got David on camera.
Hello.
And an impala named Ian, who will be joining us this afternoon. We're going to spend 3 hours looking at Ian today, see what he does, where he walks, what he eats, the herd that he tries to chase, and perhaps the predator that eats him. I am, of course, joking. We're not going to spend 3 hours with Ian, because that would probably be a little boring. Please remember, first half or first 45 minutes, so quarter of the show, dedicated to kids. You can send us your questions on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Those that are over the age of 18 will have to wait 45 minutes before your burning questions can be answered by either me, Trishala, Sean, or Taylor. Isn't it amazing? Orm and Borjos in London. That's very interesting names you have. Orm and Borjos. The animals on the safari. Okay, so the safari, just to quickly clarify what safari means. Safari means journey in a language called Kiswahili, which is spoken largely in Eastern Africa, across Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, parts of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Not really democratic, but you know what I mean. I think northern Mozambique even may speak a little bit of Kiswahili, and possibly in Rwanda and Burundi as well. Anyway, in that language, safari means a journey. So if you say goodbye to somebody, you say safari njema, which means travel safely, journey well, journey safely, which I think is quite nice. And it's come to mean now a game drive, basically. It's come to mean a game drive. So it's not a game reserve, it's not the area that we're in or anything like that. So now to answer your question, is there anything in this game reserve that makes me afraid? Yeah, for sure. Some things make me afraid, but only if I get myself into a position where I'm too close to them and I can't get away. So if I was on foot and I found a buffalo behind a bush, I would be afraid. I try and avoid that situation, though. If I was walking along and suddenly there was a puff adder that I hadn't seen, I'd probably blame myself because I should have been looking where I was walking. That might make me afraid. But you know, there are fewer things that make me afraid here than there are, say, if I was to go to an unfamiliar place like London. There are lots of things in London that would make me afraid because I just don't understand them, and I would struggle to interact with them. So, yes, there are some things that make me afraid, but probably the same number of things that make you afraid in London, and I'm sure you're not that afraid of living in London, are you? Although these days you're probably not allowed out the house, which makes things a little bit difficult. Good. Well, I think Ian the impala has given us a good enough show, unless... Oh, Emily Jane, every kind of predator that we get here just about will eat an impala. Lions, hyenas, wild dogs, cheetahs, jackals, leopards. Yeah, all of those ones. The others are a bit small to eat impalas, although baby ones could be taken by baboons, martial eagles. The impala is right in the sweet spot for the big predators. So those big top 5 predators, lions, hyenas, wild dogs, cheetahs and leopards, definitely will have a go at an impala. On we go! Oh, hooray! Trishala has gone west and she's already found you an elephant.
Yay, hooray, I have found an elephant. Let's deep into the bush so we have just a very sneaky look. Isn't that gorgeous? I love seeing elephants and any animal really from afar because you can see them truly in their natural environment without seeing us, which I think is awesome. It's almost like we're spying on them. Very cool. Welcome aboard, everyone. I'm so glad to have you, and especially our lovely kitties. My name is Trishala, and I've got Owen on camera this afternoon. It's a really nice afternoon. Very, very pleasant. And I'm very happy that we could start off, especially with that cheetah, and now some ellies. That's just amazing. Now, this one is not moving very much. We were hoping that it would move closer to us. But I can hear the rest of the herd around this block. You can see its big ears. And I can hear rustling in the bushes. That means the rest of the herd is quite close by. There we go, swinging those ears to try and cool down. It's not too bad today. I think it's 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Something like that. So it's quite a nice temperature out here. Elephants will be enjoying themselves. See how nice and green all those leaves are in front of the ellie? That's what they'll be looking out for. Aubrey from Indianapolis, you'd like to know, what is the oldest animal? The oldest animal we can find. The oldest animal, believe it or not, is the quahog clam. Do you know what a clam is? It's those little things that grow near the bay. And the oldest quahog clam ever found was 405 years old. Isn't that just amazing? That's very, very old. Now, other things that can get quite old include tortoises. Tortoises can get into the hundreds. To about 60 to 70 years old. Now, these are African elephants. Asian elephants seem to get a lot older. But animals that are in zoos, we call those animals in captivity, they tend to live a little longer in general. It doesn't apply to all species. And a lot of the time you'll find that Asian elephants are in zoos, not African elephants as such. And those Asian elephants can get to the 90s. A lot of them are between 80 and 90 years old. But I think that has a lot to do with being in an environment where they have lots of water, lots of food. Oh, look at that, speaking of food. Lots and lots of juicy vegetation. Matthew, you're 14 years old and you're from Amsterdam. You'd like to know, when do elephant bulls get in must? Must is that period when elephant bulls get a little bit more aggressive because they have lots of those hormones coursing through them, like testosterone. And it tends to happen in cycles, but there's no particular period that happens in, just like there's no particular period that elephant females like to mate or get into estrus. Now, Owen, oh, never mind. There was a citrus swallowtail butterfly that was sitting nicely, but it flew away just as I said the word Owen, because that's what they like to do. You saw it come past you. At least Owen got to see it. Those are very pretty butterflies. If I see another, I will show it to you. And I can hear the herd slowly coming towards me, but very, very slowly. Shall we move forward a little bit and see if we can catch them on the other side? So this road takes a bit of a turn northwards, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to catch some elephants on that side too. Elephants are surprisingly difficult to spot. Oh, hello, there's one right here. Hello, you. You are just stunning. Can you hear them? Hello, Omar. You're 6 years old and you're from New Delhi. You'd like to know if I've seen any elephants without a herd. You do get those elephants. They're usually bulls. Those are the males. They don't really hang around with the herd. The herd is usually mums and babies, youngsters. The bulls, they often roam around by themselves. Sometimes they're with other bulls, but they're not in big groups. And then sometimes they also follow the herd. But when you see one by themselves, it is usually a bull. Oh, somebody's coming to say hi. Oh, you've stopped now. Elephants are having the time of their lives with all this lovely vegetation, which is persisting right through autumn, which is lovely for them. I can only imagine how happy they must be. Oh, look at that. Now, elephants communicate in many ways. They can communicate by making sounds. They can trumpet, they can rumble. All sound has what we call a frequency. And the sound that we can hear is at the frequency that we are receptive to. But elephants can make sounds even lower than that, lower than the deepest voice you've ever heard. And they can hear those, and they can hear rumbles, and they can also communicate by touching trunks like that, and smells. Anyway, I think I'm going to sit with these elephants for a little bit, but I'll send you over to Taylor in Karongwe, Eco Training's Karongwe, and see what she's getting up to this afternoon.
Hello, everybody that's watching. My name is Taylor, and with me today is Alex. And like Srishala said, we are at Karong.
Oh, sorry, guys. I think my elephants were just too good and they wanted some more screen time. I'm sure we'll get Taylor back soon. I've actually moved quite quickly to cross the road, but I still see the rest of the herd on that side. Now we are talking about how they communicate, and we spoke about the rumbles that they can make, the very low frequency sounds they can make. We call that infrasonic. It means we can't hear them, but they can hear it. And they use their trunk to pick up those vibrations, their legs, their feet to pick up the vibrations, and of course all leads to their ear, where it's translated from vibration to actual messages in their brains. Let's move forward. And you saw how those two individuals, so actually 3 of them, were touching each other with their trunks. The trunk is the extension of their nose. The trunk is your nose and your upper lip fused together like this to make a trunk. So they need to smell with it. That's what they're doing. They can smell, pick up smells from the other individuals. You'll see them doing it at the mouth quite a bit. I think there's a small gap here. They can even smell water. And they can smell all sorts of things in leaves, whether it's tasty or not. Anyway, Sean and andBeyond's Ngala still has the beautiful cheetah. So let's go over to him and continue to enjoy that sighting.
we still sitting here with our lovely, beautiful cheetah. There, look, you can see now its head's up. Now he's actually been very alert. You know, cheetah, they're quite nervous animals generally. And he'll put his head down every now and then, but only for like a minute, and then he's up and he's looking around, and he's relaxed again. Very alert. We had some impala. We're in a bit of a clearing, you can't see, but behind us is a big open area. And there's some impalas chasing each other around in the background. The cheetah heard and he had a look, but he saw just an impala, so he relaxed again. But very alert animals, cheetahs. When we first found it, we came in here very, very slowly. We stopped quite far away, sat there, see what the cheetah did, then we drove forward a little bit, and we drove forward a little bit, nice and slowly, because they generally, especially here in Ngala, they can be quite nervous animals. But this one, I don't know if it's just because he's full and he's hot, or if he's just a relaxed one, but he seems very, very calm, not bothered by our presence at all, hardly even looks at us, more concerned about the impalas and the other animals that could potentially be in the area. There you see, look at that, looking around there, ears still moving around. You can just see the size of his head. It's very small. Very small animal, especially compared to the other cats, the lion that we saw this morning. Oh, a question from Nick, wanting to know where... Oh, he's gone to sleep now. Where the cheetah was found in the reserve. So I'm just going to quickly block the picture and show you this map. Okay, so Nick, we are over here, down at the bottom, right next to that pair of binoculars. So that's where we are now with the cheetah. So you can see this whole area is green. So this is what we call it's like a knob thorn savanna. So there's a lot of thorn trees in the area. And we also got these big clearings. So here where we parked, big clearing. Further down here, there's a smaller one. Further down there, there's a bigger one. So this area in the south of andBeyond Ngala has a lot of openings. That's often where our cheetahs first start coming through Ngala. And they get from the bottom here. They move through these clearings. There's a few water holes they'll pass through, look to hunt here, and then they move further up towards the river. Now I was thinking to myself now, and you've noticed over the last sort of 4 days, we haven't seen the pride of lions, the Birmingham pride. If you remember this morning, I said looks like that pride crossed out our northwestern boundary. So it could be quite likely that this cheetah, they instinctually, I don't know how, but they instinctually know. They can smell, they can hear, they just see with scent marks where the other predators are. There's a good chance the cheetah may be aware that the lions are not in this part of the reserve. So he's taken this opportunity and I was like, there's no lions, let me go in there, let me have a look around, you know, maybe hunt, which he did. I'd be interested to follow him a little bit later to see if he scent marks, because that will be very interesting. But he's going to be resting here. It's still a bit too hot, and it sounds like Trishula has some elephants coming towards her.
He was coming towards me, and now he's going to come around the side of me. He's quite a young bull. But still has those hormones coursing through him. He's not actually in must at the moment, because normally you'd see lots of fluids dribbling from all sorts of places. But he still is quite fierce. I like seeing them when they're like that. Have a certain pride and excitement about them. It's very enjoyable to watch. And they are now gone into the thick bushes. Where are you? Oh well. I was hoping that you'd be able to see him just parading down the road to me. But that's okay, I'm sure we'll find more. James has that beautiful grebe's nest. Let's go and see what's been happening with it.
we've got the grebe. And as far as I can tell, there's only one head of a bebe on the top of the grebe. I don't know where the other two are, and we're at the nest, and it's still certainly starting to look like the other two eggies have not made it. The nest is empty. So we've had 2 hatchings, and there were 2 hatchlings. I've only seen one today, but they haven't come close by yet, so it's quite possible that we just can't see the other one. So cute. And then there are the other 2, the one non-breeding sub-adult, and then I'm assuming the father, but could be the mother of this lot. And I suspect that other one is probably the offspring of a previous clutch. Bit of a wind blowing up here at Lake Djuma. I hope the baby doesn't get seasick. Look at the way the adult is bobbing up and down there. Britain, I don't know what the longest drought in South Africa was ever. There was a... When was the last? It was really bad one. Was kind of... We've had a really dry spell in parts of the country for the last 4 years or so. Right where we are here, it was very, very dry 2 years ago. So 2 summers ago. Prior to that, I'm not sure. There was a very nasty drought at the end of the late 80s. But I don't actually know when the worst drought in living memory was. It's very cute, bumping up and down there. I can still only see one head. So sweet. I hope the other one's on board there and not lost to us. We are going to try again to go to Eco Training Krongwe, where Taylor is waiting to greet you this afternoon.
Let's see if this works this time round. I think we're on. But my name is Taylor once again, and on camera with me is Alex, and I have to stand in a very compromising position. Anyways, I like this tree because it's a really, really interesting tree. This particular tree you find lots on Karongwe. So it's a very easy plant to identify, especially when it's young like this. Can you see all these big knobs that are growing off of it? It's actually part of this tree's name. It's called a knob thorn. Isn't that pretty cool? Now I have a branch. I'm not going to say anything when I pick it up because I know what's going to happen. It makes sense. Now, fortunately, this branch has broken off and is now being devoured. Normally what happens with these knobs that have got a tiny little thorn, but I'm going to bring it closer. If you can maybe just show them. And one of those little knobs, and you can see there's a tiny little thorn on there, but it's really, really, really sharp. Now this helps protect the tree when it's growing up. So normally they're quite knobbly when they're small, but as they get older and older, they start to lose their knobs. But I want to show you who's living in here. I'm going to go and put this back down. If you have a look in this little open area here, can you see all those ants? There's so many of them. And they have decided that this log makes for the perfect home. Now, I don't think necessarily the ants are the ones that have eaten all the wood. I think there were or are also termites living in here because it's hollowed out quite a bit. But it's just amazing how a branch that is no longer any use to a tree has now become the home for another animal. And that's what's so cool about nature, and it's one of my favorite things, is that nothing goes to waste out here. But I'm now being attacked by the ants. They are not very happy with me for touching this. You can see them all crawling around on my hand now. They're very small. Oh, one is even biting me. Oh, that's not very nice. That's rude. Oh, so that's what the ants are going to do. They're upset with me because I picked up this, not realizing that they had their home inside here. I'm going to put them back down. It's not that sore, but it's unpleasant. Stop biting me, ants. Right. Okay, I'm going to and shut like this, so that when they fall back on the ground, they can find their home quite easily. It's quite nice to see that there are some other cheetah that have been found by Sean.
Oh, look at that. He's got his head up. Something caught his attention there. Thought I heard an impala, but quite far there's an impala running. So I think there's a female that seems to be a female impala. Seems to be running around. That's more in front of us though, so I'm not sure if maybe the cheetah heard that. No, he's just scanning. He's just scanning to see what that impala was running from, or why it was running. There's a male there, so it was most likely running from the male, or the male was chasing it. So nothing of interest to the cheetah, and now he will relax again. But you can see the grass blowing. There's a bit of a breeze starting now. It's quite a big cloud bank coming for us from our right. There's myself scanning. There you can see it, quite a large cloud bank, which should, with this wind, come across the sun very soon, which will actually be good for us. Drop the temperature quite a bit. This wind will be really nice, and it might get this cheetah a little bit more active. Okay, Hudson. Very good questions. Hudson's 6 years old, living in Virginia. Afternoon, Hudson. Hudson, if you have a look at this, if Marcel just there, you can actually see the spots. So Hudson wants to know what's the difference between the cheetah spots and the leopard spots. So if you have a look there, you can see this cheetah has got solid black circles. So spots are exactly that. They are black and they are solid all over. You get the body, the leg, the head. It's these solid dots. Well, I'm trying to find a picture of a leopard for you. It's not too good of a picture, but have a look here in the book. So this one here is the leopard. Now, if you can see, it's got what we call rosettes. So it's got black surrounding brown. So there's a brown spot, and then there's a black outline around the spot. So that's the leopard. The leopard has rosettes, where the cheetah has actual black spots. So that's the main difference between the leopard and the cheetah's sort of spots. Now, there are sections on a leopard, down the legs, some parts of the head, some parts of the tail, where they do have solid black spots. But as you go up into the body, the majority of a leopard will have a lot more brown on it than the cheetah. Hopefully some leopard today, and then or tonight, and then we can sort of compare for you, because it's very interesting. Very interesting, because leopards and cheetahs are obviously very similar looking animals. You know, this cheetah though, very unlikely that you'll find a leopard in a spot like this. You know, relatively open, just sitting in the shade. I mean, leopards will sit in the shade, but in a much more secretive area. A lot more bushes, maybe longer grass, they can be a bit more hidden. That's one of the main differences. But then also the cheetah is much taller than a leopard, much skinnier than a leopard. But from a distance, never be sure. Remember when Nikki found or had those two cheetahs, maybe 4 days, 5 days back? Anyway, when we first saw those cheetahs in the distance, my first thought was leopard. I was like, oh, there's one, and then there was two. And I was like, okay, no, it can't be leopards. Leopards, very seldomly two big leopards. But you can always get confused between the two from a distance. but up close you can see this one. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful animal. That small face. Corbett, that's a tricky question. So Corbett's 8, living in Singapore, and wants to know why cheetahs are not nocturnal animals. Now, so everything I just said, about the cheetah compared to the leopard. So we said the cheetah is much skinnier, it's taller, it's lighter than a leopard. So in terms of competition at night, in terms of hunting, the cheetah is the lowest animal on sort of the main cat predator hierarchy. Obviously lions are first, then it's sort of hyenas and leopards, and then wild dogs, and then cheetahs. Cheetahs are at the bottom of the predator hierarchy. Now it's mainly because they can't really afford to get injured. Cheetahs rely on their speed to hunt, and so they can't risk a fight. Being solitary animals, on the whole, fighting against a pride of lions, fighting against a clan of hyenas or a pack of wild dogs, even a solitary leopard. Leopards are much stronger. They can't risk that injury. So hunting at night, there would just be too much competition. See, like now, the cheetah can walk around. He can go and hunt, and he knows that the lion, the leopard, the hyena, even the wild dogs, they're sleeping now. It's too hot for them, but he's adapted to do it to increase his chances of being able to eat his food. So that's the main reason, adaptation for hunting would be why he's a daytime and not a nocturnal hunter. But while he's gone back to sleep, we'll spend more time here. Sounds like Tishala has some interesting behavior with impalas.
I have found an interesting impala. Can you see what's interesting about him? Oh no! He seems to have walked through the web of a golden orb web spider. Now, how can I tell it's a golden orb web spider? Because it's yellowy gold, the color of the web, and that's why golden orb web spiders have that name. And this poor impala has obviously walked through the web. Actually, maybe poor spider has had an impala walk through her web. I think it looks rather fetching. What do you think? I think the females, which the males are very interested in getting at the moment, I think the females will love this headgear. How interesting that he won't even notice. He has no opportunity to look at himself. I'm just going to grab that question from you again, please, Natalie. Hi, Jonah. You're 12 years old from France. Hello, welcome aboard. You'd like to know if impala can run faster than lions. Yes, they can. Impala are quite fast. In fact, they can reach about 80 kilometers per hour, if not a little faster, if they really push to it. While lions and most cats, they run between 50 and 60 kilometers per hour. Oh yes, showing off that headgear. Showing off your running skills for Jonah. I think it looks really cool. Very, very cool. Now you can see the way that impala's body is built. You can see it's quite slender, while a lion's body is a little thicker, a little sturdier. So impalas can definitely run faster. They can also jump really high, about 3 meters high, and even 10 to 12 meters long. So it is a long, long jump. They're very, very athletic animals. And they need to be, because that is their best defense against predators. There's some females. That's what it's interested in. All right, from our Spidey Impala to James with a bird, off you go.
The bird is just up ahead. It is a pied kingfisher, and it is hovering and trying to catch fish. But I can't think that it's going to catch any fish here. Maybe it will catch a frog or a tadpole. You see it, Dave? Has it gone? Let's go around the corner here. Maybe it is fishing somewhere else. I don't see it nowhere. There it is. It is in the top of that leadwood tree. There is the pied kingfisher. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, the female pied kingfisher. Now, let's wait and see if he decides to come and hover for us. One of the few birds that does a great hovering. While you look at him, I'll tell you what else he eats other than fish. Because obviously I don't think there are any fish in here. There haven't been for some 3 years by now. Kingfisher, pied. Right, diet. Mainly fish, also invertebrates such as crabs, prawns, doubtful they'll get prawns here, or crabs, and aquatic and terrestrial insecta. Hover hunts more than any other kingfisher, enabling it to hunt far from shore. So an invertebrate is basically an insect. I mean, it includes arachnids and mollusks and various other creepy crawlies. Just give him a second, because if he takes off and flies, you'll be most impressed by his skills. Come on, bird. Ain't gonna catch nothing standing up there. So what he's doing is looking into the water to see if there's something to eat. Yeah, Richard, he's not going to catch a fish here. There used to be certainly barbel or catfish in this particular waterhole. I don't know if there were ever any tilapia here, but tilapia would have been his sort of fare. That's what he would have gone for. Small fish, maybe very baby catfish. But he'll eat frogs, he'll eat insects, he'll eat whatever he can get out of the water. This is the game with wildlife filmmaking. You've got to sit and do a lot of waiting. Well, Ollie, the kingfisher has such a long beak because it allows him to catch the fish. It's very powerful, so it can snap shut very quickly. And by being long and sharp like it is, he's able to catch a fish long ways, if you know what I mean, which he couldn't do if he had a shorter beak. Some will tell you that they use them like a knife to stab things, but I've never seen them do that. Righty, now the rest of you may start to send through your vast number of inquiries using the hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise, the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch will work. We'd love to hear from you during the course of this afternoon. Kids, if you want to keep on sending your questions, you just carry on doing that. Oh, here we go. No, don't fly away. What a very irksome bird. Yeah, she is not interested in being our friend. She's obviously decided that the fish and general fare on offer here is substandard. And so we shall continue. Yes? Yes. Good. Alessia, why does it lift its tail? The tail is very important for them when they're flying. So if they want to go up, they'll tilt the tail like that. If they want to break or stop, they'll tilt it like that. If they want to go down, they'll often push it down like that. It just depends what they want to do. They'll twist it depending on where they want to turn. So it depends on what the bird wants to do. This one was going nowhere but away fast. Who is that? Yes, Sean, there is much update on the crested grebe. It wasn't a crested grebe, it was a baby or juvenile or it's a non-breeding sub-adult little grebe, which is originally what we thought it was. So there was a great big hoo-ha about not very much. It was not a crested grebe. So we all got overexcited, I'm afraid, me included. There is another little grebe. This one doesn't appear to have any bebes. Having a bath. Oh no, this is fascinating, David. Appears to be a large earth-moving equipment moving past. That's what you can hear. Benji, there are lots of different kinds of kingfishers. In this particular area, we get the pied kingfisher. I've seen giant kingfisher here. We get malachite kingfisher, pygmy kingfisher, half-collared, no, probably not half-collared kingfisher. I'll just try and find you pictures of these. Brown-hooded kingfisher, striped kingfisher, woodland kingfisher. So there. Oh. Sorry, we've just heard an elephant trumpeting loudly, and then the sudden cessation of movement of that truck going past. Okay. Well, brown-hooded kingfisher, striped kingfisher, giant kingfisher, pied kingfisher, half-collared, probably not here, malachite, pygmy, grey-headed, not mangrove, woodland, and that's it. Quite a few. Alrighty, we'll move on from here, see if we can go and find the elephants that vehicle has just met. In the meantime, Trishala has managed to find herself a predator, but this particular predator has got 8 leggies.
Well, this particular predator is a golden orb-web spider, and it seems to be a male there too. I actually stopped at this web. We've seen a lot of these banded golden orb-web spiders. In fact, Taylor was showing you not too long ago about how many they were and how good a season it's been for them. Because there's sometimes years when you won't see very many at all. But earlier during Kids, We saw an impala with some web stuck between his horns. He looked like he walked straight through the web of a golden orb web spider. And I actually stopped to check whether her web was sufficiently damaged to have had the impala walk through it. But no, it's mostly intact. You can see lots of that scaffolding around those tripwires. Very complex arrangement. Such an obvious color, which I find very beautiful. And that's how I was able to determine that it was a golden orb web spider's web that was between the horns of that antelope, embellishing it, I think, for the breeding season. But the color of that web is created by different carotenoids. You know, that's the pigment that creates orangey reds and yellows. There's also something known as xanthurenic acid. There we go. I think that's how it's pronounced. To create that lovely color. Very cool. Now I've actually stopped here, well, apart to check whether this was the victim of the impala's tirade through the bushes. Also to have a listen. I've been stopping quite often to just listen around. Lamba has been around camp, like you know, last night. And I'm not too far from camp. I'm just in the northwest at the moment. So I wanted to listen out to any alarm calls, etc. Ooh. That was quite a distance. I heard something in the distance. Let's go. The problem is, because it's so far away, I can't hear if that call was accompanied by the burping, grunting noises that the impala is also making, in which case they would if they were rutting. But I'm right by the northern boundary, so let's try our luck. We could be lucky. The bush is quite alive today, which I like very much. Impalas are all around. There were some ellies as well. Little spideys. And that's just happening on Djuma. But at andBeyond's Ngala with Sean, there's that lovely cheetah. So let's go over to him and continue to enjoy that. That's just amazing.
So the activity on the side hasn't been too much. We've had a little bit of head movement, as you can see. He's been doing that quite a lot, but that's about it. He did stand up briefly, just to roll over. I got quite excited, but then he just lay down again. But you can see now, the shadow that he's in, not as prominent. Those clouds we showed you earlier, they are now coming very, very close to the sun. And it's getting a lot windier and it's getting much, much cooler. So I think in the next few minutes, 15, 20 minutes, hopefully sooner, we're going to get some activity. We're going to get some movement from this guy. And that's what this is all about. You know, it's all about the patience. It's waiting, it's sitting, it's watching, and it's waiting for what's going to happen. So we've got a local question from 15-year-old Sean, living in Johannesburg. How's it, Sean? He's wanted to know if this cheetah is part of a coalition. Now, Sean, I would say to you no, purely because of the fact that he's here by himself. Now, it could be that he has a brother that is somewhere else. But if I give you a bit of history, now I don't know this exact cheetah. It's very hard to differentiate different cheetahs, so I don't know who this one is, but we used to have a coalition of two brothers that came into Ngala. This was maybe last year, beginning of last year. Then once they both came in a little bit further east of where we are currently sitting, they came in there, and the one brother died. He looked very, very sick. I don't know if he was injured, but he was extremely skinny, very, very weak, and he got killed by hyenas. So it could be that this is the other brother, the surviving brother, and now he's obviously not part of that group anymore, seeing his brother died. He lost his coalition member, and he would then be by himself. But it's not uncommon to find cheetahs, male cheetahs in little coalitions. It does happen. It has been recorded a number of times. But not this one. So Stacy, no, this cheetah does not have a name. Here at andBeyond Ngala, we name very, very, very few of our animals. We name them purely, if we do name one, it will be a pride of lions or individual leopards, and that's mainly for the rangers. You know, so we name them after where we find them, or an area that they sort of frequent a lot. So like the Birmingham Pride, what's found on Birmingham Road. The Makoti male, Makoti means vultures, he eats a lot of vultures, so we named him like that. And that is so, I find a leopard, I can say on the radio to all the other rangers, I found the Birmingham Pride, and then they know, okay, it's probably, you know, it's these females with the youngsters, they relax, they're going to be there the whole day, so that we can make decisions on what we want to do. Where cheetahs, we just don't really see them enough, to be honest. I'll go 8 months without seeing a cheetah. Or sometimes you'll see, like Nikki saw those two last week, we see this one this week. So sometimes you see them, but we go, I would say, at least 3 or 4 months on average without seeing cheetah. So for us to name them is just, it's not really, not what we do here, Stacy. Not what we do here. But in some situations, I think it would help. You know, if we had a resident cheetah, if we had a cheetah that came and had a territory on Ngala and spent 90% of its time here, there's a very high chance we would name it. You know, if it stayed in this area, this clearing, if you looked at the map, it's called Manyeleti clearings, or Manyeleti first clearings. So we'll probably give him a name, something to do with that, so that when we do find him, everyone knows, okay, it is a relaxed cheetah. I can take the 20 minutes it's going to take me to get there. The cheetah will still be there. Because sometimes we see a cheetah and you stop 100 meters away and the cheetah just runs away. So it's very important to know what animal you're going to go to make sure it's still going to be there when you get there. But what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to carry on sitting here waiting for that activity. It's going to be well worth our while, well worth the patience. So me and Marcel will do that. In the meantime, you can go across to James, who I think has some elephants.
We had one elephant. I think it is the elephant that met with the earth-moving equipment, not physically. So I'm just going to press through here. He has gone behind the bush. And hopefully we will not become stuck on a big bush or stump. He's a large bush. There he is. I see him, David. I see him. There. He is like a ship in the stormy green sea of summer grass. Let's just wait for this chap to come out. There we go. I got momentarily distracted by a bird flying overhead, which I think was a juvenile African harrier hawk. Let's carry on through here. While we do that, allow me to wish a happy birthday to Kangisani Mazibugo. Hello, Kangisani Mazibugo. I believe that you are 3 and 20 years old today. Well, that's a good age to be, I think. I would quite like to be 3 and 20 again, as opposed to 3 and 40. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy this birthday elephant. He's just behind the bush here. His tusks glowing in the sun. Now, sort of what you don't want to do is make such a noise that he starts to feel like you're challenging him, which is very difficult in bush like this, but he seems to be pretty relaxed. And look, he's only got one tux. The other tux is missing. It's not quite missing, it's broken off. Look at that tusk. Yeah, it's snapped off. But I think it's snapped off such that the nerve hasn't been affected. Now, in that tooth is a nerve that runs pretty much, I suppose the tip of it is inside the tusk as it exits the mouth. It's like an enormous sort of squid, is what it looks like. And I think the other one snapped before the nerve, and so thankfully will not have caused him too much pain, I hope. Must have caused some, though, at least. Now, I can hear others just up ahead, so we'll follow him through here. He's very calm, which is wonderful. Fred, driving through or driving off-road, the limitations depends on what perspective you are looking at. From an animal perspective, I suppose it's not ideal because it makes more of a noise. The chances are that you could run over little invertebrates and things like that, but we generally try and be quite careful about where we go. Real limitations for us are that we can't move very quickly. We have to move slowly because, especially in bush like this, we could mount ourselves onto a stump and do some serious damage to the vehicle. And given the lockdown state of things, there are no spares to be had anywhere. All right, we'll try and follow this chap through here. You're going to go back to Taylor, who I believe got some sort of a reptile.
Welcome to Chippenberry Dam. I've been absolutely desperate to take you to this beautiful watering hole for quite some time, but we'll show you it in a minute. We've been staring down at the water's edge, actually watching a 3-banded plover for ages, and I kid you not, for about 5 minutes. And eventually it flew off, and I was quite upset that this bird had disappeared. And then basically what happened was I noticed this very young crocodile. So it's a juvenile crocodile. It's not particularly big. And it's just appeared from underneath very murky water. So that was quite interesting. You might see a sort of... No? Hello, hello, hello? I mean, hello? Oh, that really hurts when I rip it off my skin. Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody. Seems like we're having audio issues, but I think it might just be on our side. Anyways, as I was saying, this young crocodile appeared from the murky water, which is fantastic. And it's given us the most interesting view because it's directly below us, and we must be about 5 or 6 meters above this little thing. But it's really, really interesting. There are bars in the shot. I apologize from the vehicle that we're in. There's a safety, there's like rolled bars. But I just thought that this crocodile was quite gorgeous. Now, this dam, I would imagine, would have quite a few crocodiles. I haven't seen any really, really big ones, I'm afraid. That's at another dam quite far from here, actually on the complete opposite side of the reserve, called Big Croc Dam, where we see a whole bunch. But this is Chippenberry Dam. And you can see a beautiful view of the Drakensberg Mountains on a nice clear day. It's quite spectacular. So we'll keep an eye. We'll see if we can't watch this crocodile grow up too, as it seems as though we can come and sort of visit this area. A lot of our animals have kind of moved off now, except the hippos that frequent this watering hole. There are quite a few of them here, except they're playing the game of let's hold our breath for 6 minutes. Now, Christopher J, we'll go back and we'll have another look at the crocodile in a minute, and we shall get to that. So the reason why the crocodile looks so small is because it is a small crocodile. It's still quite young. So if you take your ruler, a crocodile when it's born is kind of about that long, and it doubles in size within the first year. This one, however, I would say is probably into its 2nd year of life. It's not tiny. It's maybe even a bit older than that. Yeah, no, I'm going to go with about maybe almost 2 years old or so. It's not particularly small, but it is smaller than a ruler, that's for sure. And I think it's come creeping close to the water's edge here, hoping that it might snap up a bird. When they're young like this, they're not necessarily worried about catching an impala, although they can be overly ambitious at times. They'd be feeding on amphibians, they'd be feeding on fish, and then, like I said, any birds that are lurking too close to the water's edge. I've kind of seen crocodiles eating an array of things. And then another thing that I can see, and I don't know if it is it might just be a floating ball of dung. Alex, can you help me by panning across the water? There, you know what, I think it is just dung, so never mind. I was hoping it was going to be a terrapin also popping its head up, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Can we have a look? There's a dragonfly that's flying around, but I'm wondering where it's going to land, because it's a banded groundling and it's quite beautiful, but this is very difficult to try and get them unless they decide to perch themselves on one spot. What else did we have a look at? Oh man, I can't wait to also come back, or maybe the hummercorp will come back. That's a type of bird. Can we still see it? The hummercorp, was it also moved? Those are not hummercorps, those are just little things sitting down in the grass. Exhausted, probably a bit annoyed that they got drenched today, because there was quite a big downpour, a big cloud that came over and soaked us all, but the wind has picked up and got the clouds moving on their way. So now it looks like the Egyptian geese goslings of Chippenberry Dam are just going to sit there and continue preening themselves while the adults graze and also keep watch for any fish eagles, because fish eagles love to eat Egyptian goose gosling. How beautiful is this? No, we seem to be hot on the topic of crocodiles, which suits me perfectly. It's a pity that there aren't any crocs out basking on the banks. Crocodiles spend most of their time in the water. However, if you watched a couple of afternoons ago, we were talking about reptiles and how they need to absorb heat. They aren't able to regulate their own temperature, so they are what we call ectothermic. So they normally come out wherever the sun is, or onto some kind of substrate that retains a lot of heat, and that's how they keep warm. So crocodiles don't do a lot of sleeping like you and I need to sleep for a specific amount of time. Some of you might need to sleep for 6 hours a day. Some of you might need to sleep for 12 hours a day to get your beauty sleep. A lot of the animals rest for shorter periods and sort of like in intervals. So they might not sleep 8 hours in one go. They might only need a few hours here and there, or 30-minute siesta. With crocodiles, as this crocodile is laying motionless in the water, it is resting. It's also a particularly cold day, so it's not going to be using a lot of energy. It is going to just probably just spend most of its time here. Maybe it was out further in the water and it decided that it was getting a bit tired and it wanted to just come and rest up here. But this is fascinating. Really special to see and so close, which was also really cool. Right, we'll see what else we can find, or we might move on. Haven't quite decided just yet. Back you go to the Sabi Sand to see what Mr. Hendry is up to.
We've caught up with our elephant bull, and he's just coming through the bushes. And he's talking as well, because behind us, or behind the camera, you can just hear the low rumbling of a herd of elephants. And I'm sure he's slowly tracking them. Perhaps one of them's an estrus. And he's not far from us. I mean, he's only about 25 meters. But I can't get closer to him without giving him irritation. So I'm just going to let him come gently through the bushes towards us. He'll be listening to the herd talking amongst themselves all the time. And I suspect quite strongly that if you were to look at elephants from above, especially in winter when the bush isn't quite so thick, so if you were to look at an aerial shot of a herd of elephants and looked around them, you'd probably find that there'd be a bull or two not too far away, just tracking along behind them, maybe briefly for a while and then leaving them alone, but sussing out the scene, because if there's an estrus female in the herd, that will be smellable in her urine. So he'd pick that up. Isaac, no, the elephants don't get hurt by eating the thorns and spines. They've got very thick tongues. They've got a lot of lubricating saliva, a bit like a giraffe. And they're just so tough that they don't get hurt by the spines. But it's a good question, you know, because our hands, the skin of our hands would be torn to shreds by some of the things that elephants eat. We're just going to wait for him to come out, because once he comes out through those bushes, I think you'll be seriously impressed by how big he is. He might even pull this bush over in front of us. Fellow, I'd say he's about 35 years old. He's not in must, or certainly not in full must. He's not dripping that urine. He's certainly not giving us any indication that he's irritated at all. Yeah, it's wonderful. Such a privilege to be allowed into an animal space like this, where he just gets on with his life, and he doesn't for 1 second try and indicate that you're making him uncomfortable or anything like that. He just carries on. And that's what we're trying to achieve out here. This is the best kind of sighting you'll have. Obviously he knows we're here. He's just pretending that we aren't. It just doesn't bug him enough to warrant his even acknowledging us. And that's when trust is built. We'll Gareth, I'm 43, so if you're too long in the tooth to be a guide, then I'm really too long in the tooth. No, I don't think so. Gareth, if you want to be a guide at age 40, you can be. I would say that the kind of job that Sean and Nikki and Eric and Rowan do is normally the job of a youngish man, because it's very long hours guiding guests. You know, you're up at 5 and you're to bed at sort of 11 o'clock every night. But there's no reason that an energetic 40-year-old shouldn't do it. So no, I don't think you're too long in the tooth. Some of the best guides out there are well over your age. Some of the real doyens, most of them are private guides, most of them don't work at lodges anymore. But no, I wouldn't say you're too old at all. Just because it tends to be a young man's job, guiding guests from lodges, doesn't mean that it has to be. And I've known plenty of men in their, and women in their mid-30s who have started guiding. So, go for it. I mean, Anushka, an elephant's eye is probably the size of a softball. Do you know what a softball is? I'm not sure what country of the world you're getting hold of us from, but I guess it must be the size of a softball. So slightly bigger than a tennis ball, I'm guessing. Yeah, I think a fully grown elephant bull is about the size of a softball. And just this amazing. Oh, amazing nature, yes. I do have an Instagram page where I post my pictures. It should appear on the bottom of the screen now. It is James R.A. Hendry. And just in case you want to see a real professional's photographs, David's is the Norman Eastor, right? That's right. The Norman Eastor. I know, but that's what it is. So yes, mine is at James R.A. Hendry. Thank you for asking. Look at him. Just couldn't give a continental about us. There's also a WildEarth official Instagram page if you're interested in that. And it's ironically named at WildEarth Official. There it is. It's almost as if he turned around, looked at us and said, well, come on, let's carry on. Let's go and see if we can find the rest of the herd. And so we shall do that. And while we do it, you're going to go back up to Ngala. I believe the cheetah cat is still reclining in the shade, but will hopefully get up sometime soon.
Welcome back to the world's laziest cheetah. He has done pretty much nothing since you were last with us. He did look around, and that was the extent of his activity. So what I'm starting to think, though, is because he is so full, that he's going to be extra lazy. You know, because he's eaten and he's trying to focus on digestion. From this angle, we obviously move the car around. But if you have a look, if we zoom out a little bit, look at his stomach. I mean, it is full. It is, yeah, he is a fatty, as Marcel says. Most likely this morning, whatever he ate, something big, maybe even a fully grown male impala. He ate it all by himself, or as much as he could, and it was a lot. So I think he might be even more lazy than usual, because he's now spending his energy trying to digest. Yeah, a little bit of sunshine coming through those leaves, lighting up his face, which is very pretty. But see, the clouds are here, the temperatures dropped significantly, so we're going to give him another sort of maybe 20 minutes and see if he does get up. Because sometimes, you know, if they feel safe, if they feel comfortable, they will stay in that area and they will sleep there. You know, for the cheetahs, this is not a bad place to sleep. Impalas are going to make their way here. Maybe some zebras, maybe some wildebeest at the other edges of the clearings. And he can use those. You know, if they start alarm calling, then this cheetah can go, oh, maybe there's something coming. So this is not a bad place for him to sleep. And you can see there, looks like he's going to sleep. So he could just spend the rest of the day here. I was hoping he was going to get up. I thought maybe he would feel a bit too exposed. Emma, my favorite part of being in the wild, from 6-year-old Emma. It's the freedom. It's the lack of, you don't feel claustrophobic. There's so much space. It's so open. There's, you know, it changes every day, but not even that change. It's just the fact that you can go out and you've got all of this space and there's no lines, there's no grumpy people, there's no traffic. You know, you just feel free out here.
A good quote from Mr. Hemingway.
Marcel's giving us a quote.
I have never known a day in Africa.
I've never known a day in Africa
where I did not wake up happy.
Where I did not wake up happy. From Ernest Hemingway. That is a fantastic quote. Emma, you got to come out here and you got to experience it. Maybe when you're a little bit older, you are 6. Maybe when you're slightly older, come out here and experience it, and then you will see. You just need one trip to the bush. Emma, I don't know where you live, but tell your parents that Sean says you need to come to Africa, anywhere in Africa, and just experience it out here. And it's an incredible thing. I mean, just this afternoon, me and Marcel have sat here for 1 hour and 20 minutes with this cheetah. He hasn't done much. He slept, he's moved around, he's yawned, he's looked, but otherwise he hasn't done that much. But it has been a fantastic hour and 20 minutes. I mean, just to be the only 2 people sitting here with this cheetah, with the clouds coming, the temperature changing, the impalas fighting, the wind blowing, it's incredible. It is incredible. It just never ever gets boring. And then also, you know, when we do have guests or even you guys as the viewers, to share it with you. So cheetahs, it depends now on how fast they're running. Now cheetahs can run very, very fast. As far as I understand, the highest recorded speed is about 112 kilometers an hour. So in that sort of speed, they can only maintain for very short distances. Maybe 100, 120 meters. They can maintain that sort of speed. So not very far. You know, as the speed drops, the distance increases. You know, an average hunting speed of, I think it's about 95 kilometers an hour when they're sprinting after the impala. And that they can maintain for a bit longer, maybe 180, 200 meters. So it depends on a number of factors, Pippin. Time of the day they're hunting, how hot the weather is, the terrain, is it rocky, is it grassy, is it thick? But they sprinting animals, 100, 200, maybe even 300 meters at their sort of average to top speeds. You know, and they can do that once, maybe twice a day, especially in the heat. In the heat, these animals, they don't run far. They don't run far. They get very, very hot. That's why he was sitting under this tree here for the entire day. It was too for him to get up and do anything. That's what also makes the cheetah so vulnerable. Ruby from Germany, Ruby 7. She wants to know how leopards and jaguars are different. besides their habitat, being the major one. Ruby, as far as I understand, jaguars are big. I've never seen a jaguar. Never, I think in South America, never been there. But they're bulkier, they're stockier, they weigh more, they're more muscular.
Stronger jaws.
Myself says stronger jaws, which makes sense. But otherwise, they are very, very similar. They're very similar. Their increased size and bulk and weight will allow them to catch different prey species. So maybe food sources are a bit different. I do know they hunt crocodiles or alligators, caimans. The caimans. They hunt caimans, which you can watch on YouTube. And that's obviously in the water, so jaguars are more impartial to water than, say, a leopard or a cheetah even. Jaguars, will spend more time there, but that's also habitat related.
And also the rosettes are different.
And then Marcel says that the spot patterns, the rosettes on jaguars are different to those on the leopard. Where the leopard's brown and black around it, the jaguars are apparently black with brown around it.
It's basically black around brown, and then inside of the brown is another spot of black.
Maybe just Google a picture, but their coats are a bit different. But otherwise, they're quite similar. It's a good question, Ruby. That was a very good question. What we're going to do, as I said, we've got maybe 10 more minutes with Cheetah. If he doesn't show any activity, we might just leave. We can always come back a bit later. But in the meantime, we'll send you across to James, who's with some elephants.
The same elephant, same fellow. We're actually still with him because A, he's fun, and B, I could try and get away from him and around him through the bush here, but he's taking the clearest route up towards the next road, and so we're just staying with him. Watching what species of tree he eats. He's eating some raisin bush now. Bit of grass, lots of grass as he goes. He spent some time around the termite mound here. Always look like they have the time, all the time in the world, which must be very nice, I think. It's the way to live. I've met a few people like that who are able to go through life seemingly without a worry or seemingly without a hurry. And I must say I envy them. Okay, out we go. I think there's a road close by here. Yes, there is. No, David, I have not ridden an elephant, and the more and more we find out about riding elephants and elephants in captivity, the more and more we agree that it's really not a good idea. So I'm going to encourage you not to go and ride an elephant, even if the opportunity presents itself. It would seem that it's far from a totally benign practice. There are a lot of people who've done a lot of research on elephants in captivity and elephants that have been ridden. There's the herd there. And they would strongly suggest that it's not a good idea. Even the famed Abu Camp of Botswana no longer does elephant-back safaris. Now he's listening to us a bit more carefully, or he's paying attention to the herd of elephants, which is off to the left of your picture. I think it's the other elephants, actually. I don't think it's got anything to do with us. Oh, yes, it's definitely the other elephants. We know that, David, because, as you can see, he has become extra. But he's a bit shy. There we are. Mm-hmm. Let's go a little bit forward. We'll leave him for now and go and check out what's going on with the herd up ahead. He's just walking gently away from them. They're over here. Looks like just two of them for now. Must be more than two, because those two are youngsters. Let's get into a position where we can see them and not be blinded by the sun. There we go. Back a bit, maybe. So these are just two youngsters that are here. I don't know where the rest of the herd is. It must be close by. The Bookster, I don't think I've ever got lost on this particular reserve. I have once or twice at night got disorientated when it's been cloudy and had to drive just in a straight direction until I hit a road. But that's not, I suppose, strictly speaking, that is lost. So yes, twice or three times. It's hard to get lost on this particular reserve because it's not big and there are a lot of roads. So if you do get disorientated, all you do is walk in a straight line or drive in a straight line. You'll hit a road and you'll know exactly where you are. On Ngala, however, I definitely have been lost before, especially on a cloudy day and especially when I was a new guide. And if you drive off-road and you don't know the blocks and there's a cloud, and which makes it very difficult for you to pick a direction, you can certainly get lost because the topography is very similar and you can't actually ever get any height to look at where you are. So you can't climb up onto a hill and see where the mountains are. You also can't see any hills to orientate yourself with. So yeah, it is possible to get lost in this kind of terrain for sure. I've told you all that story of a chap who was probably, what was he? He must have been 35 odd when he started guiding, I would have thought. Anyway, he got lost one day with his guests, and to cut a long story short, he went off tracking with his tracker. The tracker said, "The tracks are going too far. Go back to the car, get the vehicle, and meet me at X place." And he met a buffalo on his way back to the car and so diverted to get away from the buffalo and then realized he had no idea where he was. An hour later, his guests got on the radio and said, "Please come and help us, our guide is missing." The guide didn't have a radio because the tracker had taken the radio, so the tracker got on the radio and said, "Well, this is where I left him." Well, an emergency response was quickly scrambled. The general manager got in the car, threw the spinal board and medical aid first kit into the car and drove hell for leather towards the guests. They dropped off another guide with the guests to take the guests back to the camp. The tracker by this stage had come back to the vehicle. And eventually, this is now kind of 2 hours after the rangers left, they're driving back on the road and this bedraggled figure emerges onto the northern cut line of Ngala, which I don't think you've been to yet while we've been at Ngala, because I don't know that there's any signal there. And he just simply got lost and totally disorientated, couldn't find where he was, and eventually he heard the car going past and he ran out onto the road and said, "I'm here, I'm here." Good, let's go across to Trishala with a bird. I will wait here and see if there are any more elephants.
Hello everyone, we've got an African grey hornbill and we don't get to see them very often, so this is very cool. It's not the best position, I'll admit, but if I start up, they will generally fly. At least you can see the head now. Isn't that cool? This looks like a male. The females have a reddish tip to their beak, and you can see that his beak is thoroughly black with those lovely lighter, paler bits and the stripes down the bottom, which I think looks very cool, almost like it's a face-painted hornbill. Very nice. Sometimes I see them sleeping in trees in the evenings, which is quite cool. Now we don't see them too often, like I said to you, but there are quite a few of them around. They are common residents, but there's not too much information on the population size in South Africa. But I think Mozambique is in the 50,000s of these birds, so there are quite a bit of them. They just seem to elude us. But they're always a rare and special sight. They often go after small animals, which is very interesting to watch. I've had one with a frog in its mouth before. They tend to like the bigger variety, although they'll still go after invertebrates, like all hornbills. But they do like the small animals, and see that as well. Matthew, you'd like to know if the bird app we use has the bird's call or sound for each one of the birds. It does. It does. It's a very cool app. It is called the Roberts Bird app. I think it's a very It's not free, unfortunately, but some of the best apps aren't, as I've come to learn. Very, very nice spot. Glad to show James has an elephant that is coming very, very close. So let's go and see.
I'm having the most wonderful experience here with this young bull. He's come right up to say hello to us. His mother's just told him to move away. At one stage, he could not have been more than 2 feet away from the door here. It was just absolutely magical. And there's the other youngster, not quite as confident as the first one. Now they're all going off towards where the bull went, and I wonder if perhaps the bull didn't head off towards a bigger group. So he looked at these three and thought, well, you know, ain't much going on there, why don't I carry on? That was very cool. Just want to quickly show you where he was. I'm not going to walk towards them, they don't know that I'm out the car. So at one stage, he was standing over here, and I really thought he was going to reach forward and try and make contact. And it would have been very, very hard for me to keep my hands down and not reach out to try and make contact. Very special. I don't know if there's a trick to these interactions that we've been having of late. I don't know if it's just because these particular elephants have got used to us, or if we've just developed a way of being around them that is inoffensive to them, or if it's I think it's probably most likely a culmination of years and years of trust built up in the Sabi Sands, where elephants just don't have any sense or experience of us as a threat. I'm going to go, there's a fire break down here that runs sort of parallel with this block, so I'm going to carry on there. and see what we can find out. I'm not going to bash in there after the elephants. You're going to go back to Ngala, where with any luck the cheetah will get up to do a little bit of prancing or river dancing.
So the cheetah wasn't doing all that much for us, but he provided a beautiful setting. I mean, look at the sunlight coming through those clouds. He was facing us, and then he just rolled over to face the other direction. We were actually more fascinated with the sunrise, or sunset, coming through the clouds there. Really, really beautiful. We actually felt a few raindrops now even. Nothing too bad though, just a couple drops. But we've decided that this cheetah is not going to be doing anything. He is most likely... Oh, so looking at the... See, he excites us like this every now and then. When he kind of lifts up, we're like, oh, activity time. Oh, look at the yawn. Yawns are very good. Yawns for cats. Try to get oxygen into their blood, into their muscles. Hopefully, signs of some sort of activity. Grooming, also very good sign.
I think he's also just feeling the drops and like...
That's another thing. My soul also says he might be feeling a few of those raindrops. Maybe we're going to go find a bit more shelter. You can see the clouds in the distance there that we were looking at, looking quite ominous. I mean, beautiful with the sun coming through, but still quite dark. Could be bringing some rain. We were forecast for rain today. So it could be bringing some heavy rains, and maybe the cheetah's going to find some thicker cover. But he's got maybe 5 more minutes of my patience left, and then we are to leave him be. So Craig, the cheetah sleeping out here in the open is... So he would generally go for more of a thicker area. There's a whole lot of these bushes that he's under. It's got a guarri bush. There's a whole lot of them further off to his left. And he might head in there. But for the cheetah, same as the impalas, the wildebeest, they want to sleep relatively in the open. Because what that means is there's no space for lions, for leopards to stalk. If you're sleeping in the open, it means that there's no cover for any of the predators to get close to you. So Craig, it's a bit of a catch-22. You know, yes, these animals, be it the cheetah, the impala, the wildebeest, are more exposed because they're in the open, but they can also then detect any other predators a lot better because those predators will have to get into the open. So it kind of balances out. It works both ways. I would be surprised though if he slept here. We're probably going to leave, and as we drive away, he's going to stand up and he's going to walk into a thicker area just to get slightly more protection. But he will rest in an area like this so that he has an early warning of any predators trying to sneak up on him so that he can get away. This is the most activity we've had the whole day. And generally like this, when they groom, when they yawn, it happens a lot with lions, with leopards, it means that they do plan on getting active. They do plan on standing up. And I want him to actually stand up so you can see how full he is. I mean, we saw his stomach when he was lying down. But Marcel even said as we came up here, he stood up right at the beginning of the afternoon. And if we didn't see his sort of genitals, you could have guessed, oh, there might be a pregnant female. That's how full and fat this cheetah is. So now we wait with anticipation that he should stand up very soon. See, licking the paws. Okay, so yeah, and this cheetah here, male, relatively young, probably in his peak, and full-bellied. So he weighs, now I would probably put him at maybe 60, 70, 75 kilograms is what I would say. On the average though, a male cheetah would weigh between 55, 65, maybe pushing 70 if it's a big male. Females will weigh slightly less. They're not as tall, not as bulky as the male. So a female would weigh maybe 45 to 50, 55 kilograms. So they're quite light animals. You know, hopefully, as I said, he does stand up. You can see very skinny legs, very long, lean body. The only sort of size and bulk you'll see is around the chest area. He's got a very big cage, very big lungs for running, trying to breathe, control that. That's the only sort of size on him. But otherwise, generally very thin, lean animals. That's why this one looks quite funny when he stands, because he's got this small head, small neck, skinny legs, and then this huge belly. Tyler, 6-year-old from Scotland. Hello, Tyler. We at Ngala do not count our animals, no. So Tyler wanted to know, do we do game counts? No. So yeah, at andBeyond Ngala, we do not count our animals. That's why when we have general questions, how many hyenas are there or how many elephants are there, it's very hard for us to say. Mainly because, yes, we personally don't count. And also you must remember, andBeyond Ngala has no fences. So this entire area that we have access to animal-wise is, I think it's about 2.8 million hectares, which is 5-point-something million acres. So it is a massive piece of land. It is huge. So the animal numbers in there are counted. So they know in this whole area there are 20-something thousand lions. There are close on 20-something thousand elephants, for example. So that sort of figure we know for this whole area. But for Ngala specifically, today we can have no elephants. Tomorrow we can have 200 elephants. So it's very hard to keep count. So every now and then there's a consensus. I think it's every 2 years. There's a consensus where they count all of the animals in the entire area. That would include sort of Djuma, Korongwe, Ngala. All of these areas are included in that count. And that's released. But individual reserves like us, we don't count. It would be too hard. Now you think. So guys, I think our patience was good. Beautiful sighting, beautiful light, beautiful clouds, beautiful what we did see. But he's going to rest you. We're going to leave, and in that time we send you across to Trishala, see what she's up to.
I am waiting for the 2 squirrels that have gotten into this mound to pop their heads back out. Oh no. Can you hear? Yeah, okay. All good. Yes, I'm waiting for the 2 squirrels to pop their heads out of this little mound. But I'm not so lucky, it appears. I'm on the western boundary at the moment. Just doing a bit of a patrol, see what we can pick up. I found some male leopard tracks exiting the property southwards. Always nice when you see them, or the tracks of them leave. That's sarcasm. One of the more depressing things. So I'm doing a bit of a patrol here, and then I'm going to go back into Djuma, and we're going to head to the hyena den and see what's happening there. Like Sean was saying to you, it's beautiful light out here, it's beautiful clouds. It's looking a bit heavy, and I think there might be a storm coming later this evening. I think that would be nice. Very nice. Well, I think our squirrels are also decided that they don't want any airtime. That is fine. Absolutely fine. I am looking forward to the rain because, as you all know, I love mushrooms, fungus, and I have created a fungus garden near outside our little houses. And it's actually doing very well. Lots of little mushrooms have started to pop up. Maybe I'll take some photos so I can show it to you sometime. It's very cool, very quick as well, which is awesome. And now I have an extra place to visit while on lockdown. Oh, I can go to my room, I can go upstairs to the kitchen, I can go visit my garden. Hi, Nick. You're 10 years old and you'd like to know what's my favorite part of a safari? Ooh, Nick. So hard to choose. So hard. I love so many things about being on safari. I love seeing the animals. I love seeing the animals doing things. I like to see them in action. Whether it's like these two who look like they're about to fight. Are you gonna fight? Or it's just animals eating, or animals enjoying themselves, cubs. Oh, there we go. There it is. I just love it. I particularly do like seeing different animals, different species interacting with each other, and see how they respond to an elephant walking through a herd of impala, or listen. I'm going to be quiet, okay? Look how careful they are. Whoa, they look like they're locked. Oh, you can see how they could come away with proper injuries from this. You'll be able to hear another territorial ram close by, also growling or burping, that kind of noise. Look how they can predict each other's moves. Look at that. Now I am at least 100 meters away, and you can still hear the clunking of the horns together. Yeah, they are. They're licking their lips. Now they've heard the other male in the background. And we're done, folks. No, we're not. They're so careful. And that's exactly what they need to be, because neither actually wants to kill the other. They just want to insert their dominance. Of course, sometimes it does result in injury. But neither wants to injure themselves. Now this is how. So the impalas hold little territories during the rut and fend off other males. And they also neglect to eat very well around this time. So it's because of this, and they get exhausted. They wear themselves out. They become, well, pretty much poor in condition. I would say bad condition, but not strong enough to be able to hold their territory anymore. Please excuse that Pauline pole there. And by doing that, other rams will now be able to hold territory. So there's a cycle of different rams holding territory. And usually they hold territory for about 8 days. give or take. And, oh, very excitable. Oh, there comes another. That one just ran through. I'm here too. Zooming for help to get that name right. She said, do they ever really get their horns locked together properly? I haven't seen it with impala, but I have seen it with kudu, where their horns are completely locked and they can't get it undone, and then they actually can make each other's necks that way. Not pretty at all. At all. But you know, kudu's horns much larger and they're very spirally. And if you get those together just the right position, I can imagine it'd be very tough to get it out. Much like, I imagine, the spiral cables on things like my radios. I often get both my radios tangled up and then can't get it out. I mean, eventually do. But I don't have, or my radios don't have a neck that can break in the process, luckily. Very cool. Alright, well, I think I'm definitely going to start making my way towards the den. I'll send you over to James and get an update for what his plans are for the rest of the drive.
We are heading towards the northeastern corner to Beaufort Dam to see if there is anything there. This morning we had a really exciting time. We had a dab chick, or little grebe, that hid from us, and we had... That was all. That was all that we had. We're hoping for a little bit more action there this afternoon. We didn't find any more elephants, and they were all in that block peacefully feeding, so I decided not to blast in there after in this rather loud vehicle. I think that was the best decision. When we get to this junction, I want to try and show you something. Well, I mean, I want to try and show you something all the time, but show you something specific now. David, would you kindly point your camera towards that mountain that is shaped a little bit like a lion? Can you see it? It is very far away. That one. Yes. That's it. Behind the bush. So everybody, that's Lion's Head in Cape Town. We can see a lot. Amazing how far you can see from the Lowveld. No, it's not. It's a mountain called Legogot. And I don't know what Legogot means. But Owen used to have a farm just below, well, his family used to have a farm just below it. And apparently it used to be a place where many, many years ago, probably like 100, it used to be a place of execution, where if you were found guilty of crimes in the Swazi, you were taken up there and either tossed off the top or bludgeoned, I suppose, until you were no longer extant. But that's a well-known Lowveld landmark, and you can see it from just about anywhere. And interestingly, it was so clear this morning as we drove down through here because of the rain that we'd had last night that it was obvious, and I realized that in 5 years of being here I've never pointed it out, I don't think. And so that's what it is. Take that, Cape Townians. We have our own. We don't need yours. Michael, the Drakensberg range is about 1,000 kilometers long. It stretches down from here, from roundabout where David is pointing his camera, through inevitably Cumbritum apiculatum, down to the Eastern Cape Highlands. It's a magnificent mountain range. Fills me with great joy to sit and look at it, and sometimes to climb in it. It's not sort of up there with the great mountain ranges of the United States or Canada in terms of height or cliffs or that sort of thing, but it's long and it's just magnificent. So you can walk a large amount of it without mountaineering equipment. I mean, you've got to be relatively competent on a mountain, but you don't have to wear crampons and take a whole lot of ropes for I think you can actually walk the length of it without certainly most of it without any specialized climbing equipment, as long as you've got cold weather gear and you know what you're doing, you know how to navigate, etc.
Did you say you were Ngala?
Right, so this is what I got from that question. David, were you still alive when you got to the bottom after going for a walk? I don't think that's what you asked, David. Oh, if you were still alive when you got to the bottom after being tossed off that mountain, well, then I would probably say that you were either a vampire or a zombie. And I imagine that those who were trying to execute you would have concluded the same and left you alone. I don't know. I don't know, David. It's a hell of a fall. If you'd survived that, you'd be some kind of special. Definitely not guilty of whatever crime it was that you'd committed. You know the old thing that, Willem says Legogot means place of the skin. Is that right? Place of the skin? But there's that old story that goes that if you were ever hanged and the rope snapped, then you'd go free. And there's a very famous story in South African history where 4 Boer rebels were hanged by the British, and all 3 of them, I think it was 3 of them at the same time, and all 3 ropes snapped. And it was considered a great omen, but the Brits just went and found more rope and strung them up anyway. It was a source of enormous bitterness. There's been a lot of bitterness in the history of our country. I guess that's what makes it so interesting, or one of the things that makes it so interesting. Right, we're arriving at this magnificent waterhole. Remember, teeming herds. Great squadrons of lions coming down. Armadas of elephants swimming. Rafts of hippopotamus breaching. Yes, Melissa, we do sometimes get otters in this area. I've never seen one at Djuma. I've definitely seen them in the river about 7 kilometers south of us, the Sand River, when I worked at Ondolozi. And then they saw one at Chitwa in, when was it? I think it was in February this year. Was it February? I think it was February. We went to look for it, but I'm afraid I didn't manage to find it. It was a source of great conflict in my relationship, because my wife is a great fan of the otter, and my inability to find it, well, certainly caused her to think twice about her choices. Yes, absolute mayhem going on here. Sure. Look at this. I don't even know where to look. Let's go up here and appreciate the delightful smell of algae. Oh, I must tell you, I read a very interesting thing today. Did you know, this is my fact of the day, Marcel's given you his, I'll give you mine now, that there is a species of sea slug. You do think I should look at the people when I tell them this so that they can see if I've got shifty eyes? There is a species of sea slug that ingests algae, probably not the same algae as occurs here in Buffelshoek Dam, but nevertheless it ingests algae, and incorporates the photosynthetic cells into its own cells, and in so doing is able to photosynthesize pretty much. I mean, strictly speaking, it's not photosynthesizing, it's using the algae to do it for it. But it's using the algae to produce energy for it. It's this bright green sea slug. Elysia, I think, is the genus. Isn't that amazing? I've never known that there was an animal that could do that. Essentially a photosynthetic animal, and that is how the evolution of something like lichen happens. Right, apparently Sean would like to give us his opinion on that particular fact. Let's go across to him.
So, James's fact of the day, something about a sea slug. Not 100% sure what exactly the fact was, but it's something about photosynthesizing, and it sounds pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool. Me and Marcel got into the subject of sea slugs versus nudibranchs and how they're not actually the same. But it's very good. Marcel started a trend. Everyone's doing little facts of the day. We're becoming very educational. But what we've been doing is we obviously left that cheetah still just sleeping, and we're now having a look to see if we can find anything else. Very beautiful light. I'm actually trying to find a spot where we can see the sunset, because it is particularly spectacular today. And we're also heading to an area where they had tracks of 2 male lions this morning. I think I did tell you about that. So we're going to head into that area now. As it's getting darker, it's getting cooler. Lions, well, theoretically, should be getting more active, and maybe we can hear one calling and pinpoint exactly where they are. Although we haven't seen a leopard today, so that would also be really cool. And a giraffe. I haven't actually seen a giraffe in a while. See, what's that one to the side? Yes. Yes. So we'll have to have a look though and see what this sort of night-ish time has in store for us. Temperatures dropped significantly. It's actually becoming quite cold. But it's also because we're driving along the river. So if you remember, was it this morning or a couple of days ago, we were talking about cold air, and cold air sinks and it drops down into the river, making the river generally a much colder place. But that's good, because it's been a hot day. So I'm hoping maybe some elephants drop down into the river, maybe some buffaloes drop into the river. Oh, and that's the exciting thing. You can see how thick it is all around us over here. Great place for all of those animals. Elephants, lots of food for them. Buffaloes, lots of food, lots of shade for them. So it could be anything around the corner. Okay, so from Thomas, no, we don't take actual people on safari at the moment. With the world the way it is right now, we're just doing these virtual safaris. We don't take anyone besides Marcel on our drives, which is more than enough. He is quite a chatterbox. So, no, at the moment, just Marcel and the camera. And we will probably be like that for a while, which is actually quite nice. I'm quite enjoying the online experience. You know, it's very different for me, for all the andBeyond guides. It's very, very different, something we're not used to. So it's been a wonderful experience to do it. And it's going to be quite a change when the guests do come back. And then we have to talk the entire 3 hours. Like now when you talk for like an hour. When the guests come back, you have to talk for 3 hours. So it's going to be a change. But I'm also looking forward to it. So this is the river. Not much happening inside here. But we're going to find a nice spot up ahead to look at the sunset, hopefully. I think I may try and head to a waterhole. I know James was just at one. So we might try and do the same thing. Catch another beautiful sunset. Melissa in Singapore, yes we do. We do get giant African snails here. I haven't seen one in a while. but we do get them. I'll see if I can find you all a picture. So the giant African snail is that one over there, or giant land snail. This one here, and very, very big. I mean, some of them will get bigger than my fist, so they do get big. You often see them crossing the road. We often see them on the road. So if I do see one, we'll definitely stop, have a look. Sometimes you actually find their shells. They go very, very white once the snail sort of dies, and the shell doesn't have the snail feeding it minerals and things like that. It goes white. So they stand out quite a lot. So if I do see one, I will stop and have a look for you. Take it, show you, see how big the shells actually get. But we haven't seen one. I've seen a small one, a couple frogs, but no big snails. So Miss Anandrous, you know, for some odd reason, when I do try and drive like this in the city, people shout at me. They say, "No, Sean, look where you're going." So no, I don't drive like this in the city, much to everyone's relief. But the first couple of days when you go home, you know, because like now I drive, you can't see, but my knee is right here. I put it up on the side of the car, so I'm not touching the clutch anymore. And when you're at home, the first like day, when I get in the car and I get in the right gear and I put my leg up, and I'm like, "No, Sean, drive normally. There's people here. It's not just animals." But you get used to it quite quickly. Enough people hoot at you, and then you realize you got to be a bit more conscious about it. It is one of my favorite things though, when you get guests for the first time ever on safari, and you leave the lodge, you start driving down the road, and you turn around and you look at them like this, and you're like, "Okay guys, just a couple of safety things, you know, don't stand up, don't do this, don't do that." And they're just looking at you, and it's just like a blank face, or it's just shock. And then they're like, "Sean, how can you tell us about safety when you're not touching the steering wheel and you're not even looking at the road?" I get a good laugh out of it. See some guests are just like, "Sean, that way." So virtually, it is still, oh, there's a raindrop. Still quite fun. Still quite fun. As I said, we're going to make our way towards that waterhole. While we're on our way there, we'll send you across to just what she's doing.
I am almost at the den. Almost. Ribbon is there. I did pass another vehicle that said that they were just here, and Ribbon was there, and they saw little cubby heads just for a moment, and then they were back in. So I think we'll sit there quietly for a little while, and I'm sure they will come out to play. Last time we did that, they were very, very good, so I think we slowly ease them into our presence. I think we'll have a spotty, little naughty, tire-biting, cutest things ever very soon. Animals often like to use this park. This park that the hyena den is on links to Treehouse Dam. Animals often use this path, including leopards and lions. It's a nice place to look for tracks, but you'll find that they definitely don't stay on the road. They use it to walk through. Just going to have a quick look here. This termite mound, you can see the entrance of the mound, looks a little dug out. I wonder if, yeah, there's some tracks there too, but I cannot tell from here what it is. Maybe just keep an eye, worth it to keep an eye on this particular mound. Perhaps there are others in the clan denning, which I'm not ruling out. Perhaps heart. When I was at the den, the time when they came out, nicely and were playing, I could hear them squittering, these high-pitched squeals that they make, but they didn't seem to be originating from Ribbon's cubs. But I don't know if that was just maybe the sound bouncing off the actual mound depression, what it was, but it didn't seem to me that it was coming from her cubs. And that was the first thing that got me thinking, maybe, well, I mean, I was thinking about heart before, but maybe I'm not far off. Either way, we'll have to keep an eye out at other dens. Oh, we have a youngster around. Hi, Diana. Let's get in front here. You have a very, very important question. I need to stop to address it. We have arrived at the den, everyone. Diana wants to know, where is Strokey, Pokey, and the microscope? The microscope requires Jigger, unfortunately, and we are using Wendy. That there is Ribbon. But Strokey and Pokey are around. They most definitely are. Now, this other youngster that I saw, who's now lying down, Soto or Swazi, down there. Oh, very nice and dirty. Have you been having a bit of a mud bath? Yes, you have. I think that one was Soto. Yep, Soto. Hi, Sneha. You'd like to know if... Oh, get it. Good scratch. You'd like to know if the hyenas change their homes once the cubs are grown up. Hyenas only have dens for when they have cubs that need a den. But they won't use a den. They'll just roam around. They'll find a spot that they'd like to lie up in. But they don't use a den unless it is time to have some cubs, and they have cubs that they need a den for. And the same goes for birds. Birds don't use nests until they're ready to nest and have little chicks, lay eggs, etc. I mean, it's something that you normally think, oh, but that's their house. It's not really their house. It's just their home for when they have little ones. Look at this thing having so much fun. Okay? So much fun. Avery, you'd like to know how termite mounds are made? It is a massive excavation process. Massive. And there's a whole network of tunnels, etc. that are actually going on below. By the way, here's our Strokey and Pokey, when you're interested in. There's a massive construction that happens underneath. You can see there's two additional tools as well, just in case. And what they do is the termites will... The termite mound will actually start quite small. You can see the one that Ribbon is sitting in is quite large. Very small, and it's created by the two alates, and the two alates are the reproductive members of a termite colony. And by digging underneath, they're picking ground up from the bottom and depositing it on top. That looks very human-like, the way she turned over her shoulder like that. And they'll start picking up this ground. hearing.
There we go.
Yay. Now in the distance I can actually hear a bark, but I can't tell where it's from. Oh, there we go, there we go. I'm just going to get that question from you again, please, Natalie. Oh, Linika, you'd like to know if I've ever seen a lion hunt and kill a hyena? I have not. The closest thing I have seen to that, which was also just a recording of it, actually I wasn't FC when it was happening, was Corky being attacked by the dark-maned evoker male. And she was injured. Corky was the matriarch for Ribbon. Oh, I'm seeing little bobbing heads every now and then. And she was attacked. That's the closest I have come to seeing a hyena being killed or something, especially a lion. Although I must say, that sighting Steve had in Cheetah. Oh, there's a little head. The sighting that Steve had at Cheetah almost, oh, I can barely answer the question, it's so cute. Did hurt. I think it was Saka that was there. Looked like those wild dogs. We're going to take him out. Cutie. Just adorable. Now come out further. They're getting so brave, and Ruben is being so good with protecting them and still allowing them a little bit of space to come out and venture. I really want to see how Sutu interacts with these cubs. And Sutu are doing the same pose at the moment. Heads backward. Oh, look there. Nick 17, you'd like to know how strong exactly is the bite of a hyena? It is 1,100 psi, pounds per square inch. It is, although we call that force, bite force, it's more accurately a measure of pressure, I think. To put that into context for you, we have a bite of about 70 to 100 psi or so. Hippo is about 1,800 psi. Now crocodile, 5,000 psi. Say hello to my little friend. He is Dust Baby. She is Dust Baby. Fantastic wolf. You'd like to know if they have double layered coats? They look so soft. Firstly, I want to say to you, thank you so much. Often you hear people say the coat of the hyena looks scraggly, looks dirty. I think I agree with you very much in that it looks very nice and soft. And Ruben's looking particularly clean today. So most mammals, in fact all mammals, have hair, and there are three types of hair, or three, which will arrive in three different layers that they can actually have, and those layers, but they don't always have to have 3 layers. They can have 2 layers, but they very rarely have 1 layer. And those layers are softer down like hairs that are close to the body, which most of them will have. And then they have guard hairs, which are basically waterproof hairs. That's where you get the color of the animal from. So most mammals have those 2 layers. And there's a 3rd layer that can be had as well. They're called awn hairs, and they have a very curly, downy-like feel towards the base, the area that actually makes contact with the body, and then the top of it is straighter and firmer and more waterproof. That layer, that in-between type layer, not all animals, not all mammals have it. So the hyena has to have at least 2 of those fur types. You're right, very nice and fluffy. Ruben, you are looking great. You remind me of when dogs sit upside down and watch TV. She almost looks like she's trying to match Kirsten's hair color. Matthew, I'm going to grab that question from you again. Something about hyena dens. How deep the hyena dens. They're not actually very deep. They're basically like a chamber with a bit of a pedestal in the middle that is raised like a platform, like a step. And they have that because if the mound gets flooded by rain and things like that, the cubs can always go up onto that higher ground. Thank you, whoever's keying the radio incessantly. Just put you off. So they're not actually that deep. It's more chamber-like. But if you want to have a look what the inside of a hyena den looks like, I'm sure Ronald the Rover entered there at some point with James, and I'm sure somebody online there will be able to share it with you. You can have a look. Just going to keep quiet for a moment. I'm listening to something. Thought I heard some alarm calls, but I'm going to listen out and I'll send you over to James for a bit of an update in the meantime.
We're going to show you some pink of the sky. Look how pink it is.
All 3 large.
Very beautiful and pink. Absolutely amazing pink color. It's spreading. I mean, it looks like there's a sort of pot of something that's had its lid taken off, and now it's shedding a luminous light miles away from where the actual sun's going down. Denise, we do night drives. You'll be on one as soon as it gets dark, basically. So we don't tend to drive around a great deal at night. We finish at 6 o'clock, and we don't go out after that. And one of the reasons for that is that in order to view nature at night, you've either got to have the eyes of a nocturnal animal, which we don't as human beings, or you've got to light the place up like the Wanderers during a cricket match or a baseball stadium. You can't actually see what's going on. And so, yes, you can use a spotlight, but it's not nice for nocturnal animals or any animals to have a spotlight on them. They're nocturnal for a reason. It's because they like to move around in the dark. They don't like to move around at night, at least in the daytime. And as far as something like a lion's concerned, if you find lions on a kill, well, that doesn't matter. But to follow a leopard with a spotlight at night, to follow a white-tailed mongoose or anything like that at night, it can be quite exciting and be quite fun, but it really is... Okay, let's go over to Trish.
Ah, sorry guys, did you manage to see Sotu roll down the hill? Hope you did. That was quite funny. That was quite interesting. Ruben didn't react much at all, where previously she had. So she must feel a little bit more secure about the safety of her cubs. Very nice. She's just sinking deeper and deeper into the den, though. We are getting a lot of droplets on us. Still fairly light for now, though. Hello, can we please see your babies? Isn't she looking extra clean today? I think she is. Come on. No. Oh well, they're gonna sit here, obviously. I'm going to sit here as I did. Anyway, James has a story to finish, so let's go back to him.
So I think I was saying that, it's just nocturnal animals don't like to move around in the light, and so to put a light on them, I don't believe is particularly fair. Unless you've got something like lions feeding, they don't really care, or lions sleeping, they also don't care. Hyenas, yeah, same thing, they're very confident, doesn't really matter. But if they're hunting, it's definitely not fair. Leopards are inherently secretive, they want to be secretive, and so to put a light on them, yeah, I'm not sure that it is fair. So we don't spend a great deal of time out at night, and we do have some equipment that can film at night, and we used to do quite a lot in the Masai Mara at night in the migration, all with infrared cameras. We've done quite a lot of thermal cameras too. That means we don't have to use white light unless we're trying to find where we're going or that sort of thing. And the infrared, if you've got animals close by, can be quite cool, can be quite nice, but it doesn't reach very far. And so the upshot is that when we drive around at night, we don't see a great deal. Sometimes if we've got lions hunting at the end of a drive and we can see them and we can follow them without affecting them, well then absolutely, naturally, we'll follow them. This bunny has got a bit of its ear missing. It's had an accident. See? His ear's been torn. I wonder what tore his ear. The rain is starting to pitter-patter down now. Bunny don't seem to care. So I hope in a long-winded way that's... Oh, he's attacking us. In a long-winded way, that's explained what we do at night. We don't tend to operate too much at night. And, it's funny. I remember driving on Ngala guests who would be, especially South Africans, used to be extremely excited about going out at night and seeing what there was. And if you do find nocturnal creatures like aardvark or pangolins or something like that, it is very exciting, it's lovely, it's wonderful. But the number of nights I drove along where you'd see really relatively little. I think it's probably much better up in the desert areas where it's more open and a lot of things come out at night. that's the basic explanation of what happens at night here. Now, many of you have been with us for some time. You'll know, of course, that the landowner has a dog here inside, perfectly enclosed, all above board, everything wonderful. But he does bark, the alarm calls, when he sees predators. And I heard him barking a little while back, and I wondered if he hadn't perhaps seen Tlalamba maybe, or something else up around the north. So that's why I've come back up here. They cannot get at each other, in case you're wondering. The dog is contained within a very securely fenced area, but he does look around, and obviously he has an animal sense, which means he'll be able to smell and probably see better than we can if there's a predator around. You're right there, David. Water-wise. All right, I believe that Taylor is back online, which is excellent. And not only is she back online, she seems to actually have a lion.
Well, fingers crossed, because here at Karongwe Game Reserve we have had an unbelievable afternoon. I know we haven't been able to share every moment with you, but we are sitting with a Karongwe Pride Alliance. So basically, after we left Chippenberry Dam, we had that sneaky crocodile lurking in the water. We shot all the way to the northern section of the reserve, and we have been following the Karongwe Pride. Now, at the moment, we can only see one young male, and then, of course, a beautiful big male at the back. The rest of the pride has moved through this very big block, and I think that they're on the hunt. You might be able to also hear some impala rutting just in the distance, but that doesn't seem to be what they're after. Maybe something a little bit bigger to feed all these mouths. I mean, they devoured a zebra in less than 24 hours. So a buffalo, a giraffe. This pride is notorious for hunting giraffe, but the females are going to have to do a lot of hard work, and they're actually already all gone up in front, probably about 10 or 15 minutes ago. The male seems to be on, I suppose, daycare duty, looking after all the young sub-adults. So just wanted to quickly go into something. Obviously, a lot of the animals on Karongwe Game Reserve didn't have names officially. So the researchers used to call them by certain things. So some of the names that I give you might change as they go along. So don't get too upset. But for example, this male didn't really have a name before. So they just used to, well, I just sort of use the researcher's name, but it has been decided amongst the owners of this reserve that they'd like to call him Zeus, and I think that is quite fitting for such a powerful animal. Can you hear those impala? He doesn't even seem to be the least bit perturbed by the sound of rutting impala. Now, of course, there's this age-old story of male lions not hunting. Of course, this is not true, because for a fair amount of time, male lions end up leaving the pride and being on their own. So they have to hunt for themselves. They have to feed. But this fella is really lucky. He's got two lovely lionesses that are quite large. They're actually some of the biggest lionesses I've seen, even in comparison to the lionesses in the Masai Mara and the Serengeti ecosystem. They're really, really big. But basically, sorry, I'm just sorting that out quickly. Basically, I think that they are exceptional hunters. I would really love the opportunity to get to watch them hunting a giraffe. That's actually what I've seen them feeding on the most. Again, not even paying the young males any attention at all. But it's quite fascinating to sit here and watch how the youngsters have put this big male up on this pedestal, and they're just so desperate for some kind of acknowledgement from him. But he's not really willing to give it to any of them at all. Darcy Ann, they suggest that this male was born in June 2010. So he's about almost 10 years old now. So he's in his prime at the moment. I mean, you can see he's got a very, very full mane. He doesn't have very much competition. So, he's really been allowed to get to his maximum size, and he lacks all the scars that most lions have. Those rutting impala have now come closer and have spotted the lions. Can you hear? So those snorting noises are just the impala coming closer. Like I said, I think they're after something a little bit bigger. And it's great grazing area around here, so I suspect that some of the bigger plains game would definitely be around. So yeah, so this boy, beautiful in his prime. You can see his mane is very full all around his neck, over his shoulder, and almost connecting to underneath his belly. And he is a descendant of the Kalahari male lions, and they're also notorious for having big, dark, black manes, and just for being big lions in general. And that he is. I can confirm that because he is walked right next to the car. He's a very relaxed lion, and that's one of my favorite things about lions, is that they habituate probably the easiest, I think, of all the big cats. And what we did is we sat quite far away from them. We saw them all lying in the road, or some of them weren't lying in the road, and eventually they all came out, just as he is now. And you've seen we're quite a distance away from him. And then we pulled off maybe 5 or 6 meters off the road, and then they just all walked past us one by one. And then the sub-adults actually decided that they would enjoy sitting around us, and just sat and enjoyed myself and Alex chats while we waited to get some signal. We were encouraging them to come in this northerly direction to higher ground, so that we could at least show you all how awesome this is. If they continue going in the direction that they're headed, there's another really big dam called the Nyati Dam. It was where I had tea and coffee the other morning. So that could be quite good, because that's going to be a big draw to the big herd of buffalo that live around here, and they also frequent the north. And something's got his attention. He's pricked his ears up just a little bit. Got his gaze focused deep into the thicket. But I haven't got a clue how far ahead those lionesses are, and I'm very reluctant to move around here. But this is pretty spectacular. It seems as though Trishala's hard work has finally paid off. She said she was going to the den, and the cubs are out.
The cubs are out. One is definitely out and about. Even went to investigate a little part of the mound, as usual. And I also heard an alarm call around Weaver's Nest, somewhere between Pangle and Track and Ingwe Alley, I would think. Oh, there's another hyena. Hello? Bit of greeting going on. Frequency is very good. The cub has gone back in now, though. Rain is starting to come down. Hi. Who are you? Just very soft. Hi. Very cool. Now, given how she relaxed she was, I initially thought it's Intima, but it's a little bit light for Intima. It looks young. Oh, Cubby's back out. It was actually the cub that first, on the left. Just on the left there. Oh, and you might see a little bit. Oh, his little head was there almost. Such interesting interactions. Now remember I told you that these are some of my favorite things to see. And if you enjoy seeing animal interactions too, please go to our support page. There should be some details down below. Go there, support us, continue this wonderful stream to allow us to bring you some wildlife doing their thing. Just awesome. I'm sure you love it as much as I do, because I, for one, absolutely love this job. I need to find out who this is. No, there was one individual. It's Swazi, I think. I used to call E.T. at one point. I think it's Swazi. Oh, thanks, Michael. You say it is Swazi? Very nice. I've got a stick insect on my mobile phone. Just decided to sit here. Stick insect, I'm going to leave you on my dashboard. How's that? There we go. Oh, tucking in, very cute. It's nice to see that Ribbon is quite gentle with the youngsters. I mean, obviously she's giving them a look every now and then, just like she is now. But she isn't being very defensive, which I think is awesome. I'm glad we saw one little cub's face. This is a really, really interesting time to watch them consistently. Because like the first time that I came here, and I felt that the cub that had the sort of bits of fur missing to be the submissive one, and the fatter one seemed to be the dominant one. And it's important to watch and see how that changes. That's super cool. So I'm going to stay here till the end of drive, and I'll send you over to Taylor at Eco Training's Karongwe, see what she's getting up to on that side.
So look at that. One of the impala have come out to see what all the fuss is about. Athletic antelope we have out here. They can run fast across an open plain, but they're typically skilled when it comes to dodging and bushes and sort of this more denser terrain. So they're very athletic. They also, and I'm sure you've seen it already, they can bound quite high and they can leap massive distances. My lapel is on.
Yeah, there we go.
Have you got my audio?
Now it's off again.
Hello? Hello? Sorry guys, I seem to be having some audio issues. I'm just going to sit like this and hopefully you can hear me. Sorry, so I don't know if you got the gist of what I was saying, but essentially, I'm not going to go into it all over again. Impala are incredibly athletic antelope, and what this ram is doing now is that he's snorting, he's telling all the lions, I see you, I know that you're here, don't even bother trying to chase after me because I can run much faster and much longer than you, Mr. Lion, can, or Mrs. Lion, or maybe the rest have gone around, and this is all just a ploy, and this male lion lure. But one impala wouldn't go down very well with the Prada lions. They would devour it quite quickly. So they do that. I mean, I've watched two male lions once walking also just in an open raw now. I was doing tutorial on Hoven Pipes for meters from two lions snorting at the lions didn't take a look. They all went in one energy can put trying to something other than something we've already seen there. Remember with lions, and I'm sure again you all know this by now because, oh, you never know, there might be a new viewer jumping on for the first time, so welcome to you. And sadly, we're almost at the end of the show. But it means you'll just have to be excited for tomorrow morning's safari. But lions rely heavily on getting as close to their prey as possible, very much like leopards. Also try and get nice and close, but of course they're well adapted for speed and can run a couple of 100 meters at top notch, whereas lions can't go that quickly. Right, I think we're going to say goodbye to these lions. It's been absolutely fantastic. We'll see what they're up to tomorrow, or perhaps we'll look for the cheetah. Back you go to the Sabi Sand.
No, no, no. Look at this. These are the youngsters that are giving me trouble here. This is what I'm used to. These little ones, so we have Swazi and Ndebele and Sutu, all coming here trying to eat my shoes yet again. They're all over a year old now, but they're still little cubs at heart. I had to shout at one for putting its nose on my foot. It's very cool to see, though, that even though they're young, even though they're so old, or they look so large, they're actually not very elderly in their behavior. They're not mature, they're just gorgeous. There we go into infrared. Sorry if my head comes into the way, I just have to make sure nobody's eating my tires on my shoes anymore. Ah, and they're back again. Hey! Someone just bumped the car. Uh-uh! 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 Lion, you'd like to know what's the relationship between Soto and Ribbon. Soto is June's youngster. Just check that. Someone's stuck in between a tree. And Ribbon and June are clan mates. They are not, however, related by blood as far as I know. I don't think so at all. I don't even think we know who Ribbon's parents are. As for June, June was Scarbacks. I can hear them underneath my vehicle. Can you see little pops come out, popping ears come out? They have been engaged in this kind of behavior from the time they've been 3 months old. And now they're continuing their trend. By the way, I must tell you that I got a very nice smell of them when they came past, and they actually didn't smell much worse than a wet dog does. I think that's very reasonable, and a very nice comment on the smell of you guys. Gosh, I love them so much. It almost pains me to shout at them when they come close. Alright, from some nighttime hyenas, let me send you over to James with some nighttime Ailey's.
Here we have got some elephants moving in the night. They are gone. Let's go a little bit further forward. Elephants at night is very special. We are in infrared. I think, are we? We will be. Yes. There we go. That'll be a nice picture of them. I think elephants in the night is just beautiful, mainly from a sound perspective. going to sneak a little bit forward because I think there's another one a bit closer which we get a better view of. So I'm just crossing the road in front of us. That's lovely. See her guiding the little ones in the night. Right now, my great friend, colleague, and photographer extraordinaire, Tristan Dix, is going to do an Instagram live at 6 o'clock where he'll tell you all about some of the photographs that he's taken, the stories behind them, how he's taken them. If you're a photographer, get in there now, get some tips. If you just like stories about wildlife, get in there as well. 6 o'clock, I think for about 40 minutes, I think as long as it goes on. That's Tristan Dix on the Facebook, on the WildEarth official Instagram feed. You right there, David?
I'm fine, yeah.
Do you swallow a bug?
Yeah.
You can see how a browse line forms on these trees when they pull off big branches like that. They're just going to head off into the dark, and we're going to leave them to do that. Very special way to end the evening. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us, for your questions and your comments, and for just being on the world's biggest game drive. We'll see you tomorrow again at 0600. Until then, stay safe and happy wherever you are. Bye-bye.